From the William B. Travis Building in Austin, Texas, we're keeping Texas energy on track. Here's your host, Bryce Doobie.
Welcome to Texas Energy on Track, the official podcast of the Railroad Commission of Texas. I'm your host, Bryce Doobie, joined by my co-host and producer, Nick. Sir, how are we doing today?
Yeah, I guess I'm doing mostly good. The summertime heat, man. I've lived in Texas for almost 20 years, and it still fries my brain. Like, walking outside, man, it's just been so hot lately. I wish it felt more like the studio, nice and cool, but I guess we got to wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. We had, for the most part, I think a fairly mild July, so I'll take that. Now, heading into August, the heat is here. We're going to just be that part of the year, and I guess that is what it is, but it also is August, so we do have something important to talk about. Specifically, August 11th.
Yeah, special date. May not know about it, but if you're into anything with digging or want to do anything with your yard or maybe calling 811. Hey, maybe we can talk about that today.
Absolutely. So today we are thrilled to be joined by Ricardo Gomez. He is a compliance analyst here at the Railroad Commission. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
No, absolutely thrilled to have you here today, especially to be talking about, again, as we just talked about, National 811 Day, August 11th. Before we jump into all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been at the commission, what's your role here, etc.
So I came on board back in August of 2017 as a compliance analyst with the damage prevention program. I love what I do. I don't really have any plans to change that. But yeah, my background is basically in customer service. Started out in service industry, restaurant, retail management, moving into some back office compliance work. And then the stars aligned in 2017 and brought me here.
So when we're talking compliance and damage prevention, that's part of our broader with pipeline safety and all of these types of things. So specifically compliance with the laws and regulations to...
Basically, when you're digging their pipeline. So 811 was created with safety in mind. I like to start off whenever I'm talking to folks that we roll up under the Pipeline Safety Department, which rolls up under the Oversight and Safety Division, which emphasizes safety. And that's the reason that the laws were created in the first place.
And for folks who may not be aware of this concept, we kind of throw it around a little bit. What exactly is Texas 811 and what's sort of their relationship with the RRC?
Yeah, so Texas 811 was created because of some laws that came into effect. In, I believe it was 2005, the FCC officially designated 811 as an abbreviated toll-free call before you dig number. In 2006 is when it was mandated to be used nationwide.
Oh, I did not know. I thought it was just a Texas thing for some reason.
Call before you dig has been a law in Texas since I believe it was 1999. Texas Utility Code Chapter 251 is what made it a law, but it became mandatory in 2005, 2006. It calls for there to be a notification center, and that's what Texas 811 is a notification center. You call 811, they then notify all of the Class C utilities that there's going to be some excavation going on here. Get your folks out there to mark. And so as far as relation, we get a lot of excavators being referred to us by Texas 811 to know more about the laws. We refer folks to Texas 811 all the time whenever they're having issues with, locates or whatnot. And in tandem, we tried to, join their outreach efforts to provide the regulatory side of excavation work.
Because I know one thing I've heard from other folks, and then even before we started recording, talked with you about as well, operators in the industry on the oil and gas side, they know these laws, they know with their pipelines and things like that, but there are so many different other folks out there, whether we're talking contractors, excavators. I've got a little project of my own where I'm going to go put in a pool in my backyard. I get an idea and I'm going to start digging in my backyard for whatever reason. It can really run across a pretty broad spectrum when we're talking about folks who need to be calling these numbers.
For sure. There's definitions in the law, and basically anyone with a shovel is defined as an excavator. And as an excavator, you're required to use the 811 system.
How much does it cost for me to call 811, or what do I have to do to get these markings and things done?
Monetarily, it's free. Technically, the members of 811 pay a fee for each of those locates that are called in. As far as the excavator's cost, it's free. The only thing that you have to, quote unquote, pay is time. You got to allow them 48 hours, and that's working hours. That excludes your holidays or your weekends for them to come out and mark.
So if I call on a Friday and I know that my contractor's coming out on a Monday, I need to give them more time.
That is not enough time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we would definitely suggest to either have called Thursday or to push your start date.
Gotcha.
Because you definitely want those utility providers to have the opportunity to come out and mark as accurately as possible.
Now, sort of behind the scenes on all of that, how does the 811 system work? I mean, someone calls in, say that they're doing work in this area, and you said that it's notified for markings to go on. How does that process work, and explain a little bit more about how that kind of goes?
I'm calling 811. Let's just say, like you said, on a Friday at noon. The Texas 811 Notification Center then has 2 hours from that point to notify each of the operators or utility providers that have facilities in that requested area. Then at that point, the utility providers have to start sending their folks out within that 48-hour time frame to mark.
And when you said, I know specifically for us, we're talking oil and gas, but I mean, you said utility, so that's electrical, that's...
So your
everything else too,
your electric,
water.
Technically water is not considered a Class C utility, so they're not required to be members. There are some utility or water districts that become, which is great. We encourage them to be members because it does save them in the long run with all their strikes. But yeah, that would be your gas, your electric, your comm lines.
Yeah, you don't want to take out the internet for your neighborhood,
and if for hospitals, that can heavily affect them as well.
And we keep saying call 811. Can you do this online as well? Is there other ways? Is there a website?
There is. And Texas 811 has done really good. They now have a mobile app that you can use. And it's usually used by excavators that do a lot of excavation work. So like you and I just,
Not my weekend plans, but if I've got a business.
But it's available.
Yeah.
I do know that the hotline or the 811 line is manned 24 hours a day. 24/7, off regular working hours. That's usually reserved for those emergency type situations. But yeah, it's available to everyone online or by phone.
And again, mandatory.
Yeah, it's law. Yeah.
So if you're call before you dig.
Call before you dig.
On that being law and being mandatory, there's an enforcement side to all of this with damage prevention and all of these things. I know when we publish our dockets and things and we have our hearings and all of those types of things, there is the other side to this where there is an enforcement, there is fines, there's penalties for someone who does maybe damage a pipeline or something like that or doesn't.
And they're not cheap. Violations can run anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500. There can be multiple violations per incident. We do issue penalties to the operators for locating incorrectly because that then resulted in the damage. And we also issue penalties to the excavators.
And is there, just when we're talking excavation, again, I'm thinking just in my simple brain, if I'm just out there with the shovel putting in a flower bed, does that count as excavation or do I need to have a backhoe?
It does.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. So there, in the definitions I mentioned earlier, there is a definition for the movement of earth, and that is pretty all-encompassing. I would definitely suggest if you're listening to this to look it up. It's 18.2 is where you'll find the definitions. And like I mentioned earlier, anyone with a shovel essentially becomes an excavator and is bound to Chapter 18.
So if I get a honeydew this weekend or something like that and got to go dig a hole, I got to wait 48 hours. I got to call for
I'm going to say yes.
Buy myself a little time in case it's
repairs of damages is not cheap. Obviously, the safety aspect. So it behooves everyone to go ahead and call.
When someone does call, what is some of the specific information they need to have ready? Is it an address or is it a depth or how does all that work?
Those two things, for sure. Definitely need to know where you're going to be digging. They generally want to know what type of method, your intended work date. If you can, white lining is always suggested and requested if possible.
What is white lining?
White lining is basically I'm calling 811, I'm planting a tree. I would go out with white spray paint, and mark exactly where I'm going to be digging. That helps in the long run. So I recently learned that in 2025, there was right around 4 million, or a little over 4 million locate tickets called in, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And that's been increasing since the beginning of Chapter 18. I think they're estimating in 2026 they're going to reach 5 million. So those locators have a lot on their to do. And so white lining allows them to come out and just mark what needs to be marked. as opposed to me calling them and saying, I need my entire property marked. It also helps as far as letting the locators and operators know the intended path of your excavation. So, for instance, I'm installing some irrigation, and I know more or less where my lines are going to be run. I can let them know with white lining, little arrows just saying, I'm digging this direction 20 feet. That also helps the locators know what needs to be marked.
Yeah, I guess, that totally makes sense. Like you said, if you're putting a tree and it's in the back corner and they know, look, there's nothing that goes back, we'll mark here and we'll mark here, bing, bang, boom, we're done.
And on top of that, just to go back to your original question, one other important thing is, like on your big excavation jobs, to give a contact for, I guess, like maybe the foreman on site. Sometimes they'll get tickets and it's the contact person of the person calling it in back at the office.
Okay.
So if I'm the locator and I need to reach, someone on site to let them know, hey, we're on our way, or we're having a little trouble getting there, or anything, it's best for them to be able to reach someone on site.
I think that, like you just said, especially for like not the homeowner type jobs, but a big projects, that would be you could slow the whole thing down.
And Texas is a growing state, and that's why we're seeing a lot of locates being called in.
Jumping from 4 million to 5 million, that tells a story on its own. One, that people are also calling before they dig, which is always good to hear, but two, just the sheer scale of that is huge. So if I hire a professional contractor and we're putting in a fence or whatever, who has to make that call? Is it me or is it the contractor?
So the way the law is written, the person or the entity that is doing the excavation work is ultimately responsible for having locates. We oftentimes get homeowners that call in. We also get general contractors that will call in their locates. Sure, it'll cover the general contractor if they're excavating and doing any digging, but a lot of times they're subcontracting. So technically it would be that subcontractor that would need to make sure that they have locates.
Whoever's moving the earth.
Whoever's involved in moving earth. Be that a person, or a company, or municipalities. We get a lot of instances where municipalities are doing their public works repairs or whatnot. And I don't like giving municipalities, dockets for not calling in locates.
Now, hypothetically speaking, I'm an excavator. I made my call on Monday morning. It's Wednesday afternoon. I haven't heard anything yet. What am I supposed to do if I haven't gotten a response at that point?
So Chapter 18 does have some verbiage that the excavator is expected to inspect those positive responses or the marks on the ground. If there's any question of their accuracy, or if they've not received a response from one of the utilities, they are required to call in a second notice. I think Texas 811 has their ticket as a no response. That then starts the clock. The operators have 4 hours to make it out and make sure that the marks are on the ground.
Okay, so there is a process in place for all of this. This isn't just I called, didn't see anything, might as well start digging.
And even then, if they've made that second notice and there's still some question, we always urge for them to try one more time, maybe escalate the call to a supervisor with Texas 811. But after that, they've fulfilled their requirement of state law.
Now, again, in these sort of hypotheticals, because these are just interesting to think about. Now, I've made my calls, I've got my markings, everything's good, we're starting our work, we're excavating, and we uncover something that wasn't marked. What do I do?
At that point, I would say you call 811 first and foremost to let them know. Hopefully you didn't damage it, or if there's a release of product, especially if it's gas, then by law you're required to call 911. Most excavators will call the utility provider directly. We encourage to continue doing that. Make that maybe your third call. That just speeds up the process of them making it out. To make repairs. But then you've got 30 days to get onto the Railroad Commission website and submit the damage report, which is called the Texas Damage Reporting Form, or TDRF.
And again, thinking in these same sort of devil's advocate running through, just wanting to learn about how all this works. Excavating, come across a pipe, whether it was marked or unmarked or whatever. It was an accident. I just scraped it, dinged it. Nothing's coming out, no product. Do I still have to report that?
I'm going to direct you to 18.2 again, the definitions. And the definition of a damage does include scrapes, bending, displacement of the pipe, all of those things can, if left unrepaired, can lead to corrosion later down the line and possibly even a leak. Gotcha. So that is a damage that needs to be reported.
Even whether it's accidental, unmarked, all that does not.
One of the things I like to express when I'm doing my outreach work is to make sure that everybody understands that, well, yes, we've got laws, but not every damage is going to result in a penalty from our office. Chapter 18 are essentially best practices and guidance. They're not intended to tell the excavator how to do their job, just guidances to potentially avoid a damage. We have many incidents that are closed with everybody being in compliance with Chapter 18. So that's mainly what we're looking for, is compliance. We're not looking to penalize for the damage having occurred.
And again, I'm playing, just purely for listeners out there, I am playing devil's advocate on all of this type of things. We're asking some questions, trying to learn more about all of this. But again, this is required by law that you need to call, you need to report damage. And again, you said the timeline for reporting within 30 days to the RRC website?
It's within 30 working days. So, with weekends and holidays, that potentially could be up to 45 days. But yeah, we suggest you do it as quickly as possible.
Oh, sure.
But I know that sometimes it takes time.
And you just mentioned as well outreach. How do you use community outreach to educate folks about all this? Like we talked about earlier, operators know, utilities know, John Q. Public might not. Like, tell us a little bit about some of the outreach and things that gets involved, even I imagine on the municipality side.
Yeah. So we do, daily. We're doing outreach when we're dealing with new excavators. We're educating. We do tag along, like I mentioned, the Texas 811, their damage prevention managers, in coordination with the damage prevention councils of Texas, sometimes with our pipeline operators. We'll put on safety excavation days, excavation workshops. There's like a damage prevention summit that happens every year. So we try to go out and get in front of the public to give a positive representation of the regulatory side. I'm hoping here, in the next few years, to develop some webinar trainings that we provide, directly from the Railroad Commission. We'll see. I've got some ideas.
I always love hearing ideas on how we can better improve these types of things, because again, it's important. There is a national day. There's National 811 Day, which is why we're here and we're talking. But I think, especially as you said, 4 million to 5 million calls just for markings. There's so much growth happening. There's so many more. When you think about it, we hear about more lines going in and more changes in communities. You might not know. It's like, oh yeah, we've been living here 20 years. And like, well, no, they ran a whole thing back there 5 years ago. So it's always important to call and just kind of know about all these things. So anything we can do to better educate the public, I think, is always helpful.
In fact, I'm going, I believe it's next week, on a late 8/11 day. I'll be in Midland. They're having an excavation summit. And so I'll have a little breakout session. I'll be able to talk people through the submission of the damage reports and answer any questions that they may have.
You touched on a couple great things there. Overall, I'm just in here waiting. I'm like, man, this is good stuff. That the Railroad Commission is not out to get people. We are educating because, and even some people probably don't even know. I mean, they do, but they don't. They're like, yeah, I've heard of it, but you're like, oh, really? I got to do this. I got to, and you also touched on that, the education of your outreach. And I think it'd be great for, you want to get webinar, because Texas is a big state. I think that's obvious. We can't reach every single corner, but have something on the web where someone can just watch a video from anywhere on their phone or their computer, their TV even, that I think that's great too. And I think that the education part is huge, because we're not the ones out there. We're not marking, we're not digging. We're trying to help them. And yeah, we got to find people when there's damages that do happen, but we're out there more about the education. I love that. And I know personally that you travel a lot, and I mean, you cover a lot of ground, and just that education part, I think, is huge.
We definitely do. I would even like to have a monthly coffee with your damage prevention rep. Invite folks to come and vent, or if they need some advice on better reporting or how they can stay in compliance in certain situations.
Yeah, I think that's great, because it's something also where, well, they're on the fence. This doesn't pertain to me. And then when you, I guess, do put in a fence or something, like, wait, what am I supposed to do again? And then I should have gone to that. And then like, oh man, then you got to do more work. Just get out, go to 811 or you follow us. We have information on our website. You're doing this outreach events. Go to that. If it's in your community, it's just going to benefit you. It's just going to help you in the long run.
And there's a lot of people that are aware of 811 before you dig. I think back in the day it was Dig Test. They know about that law, but they're not aware of the reporting side of things, or Chapter 18 specifically.
I mean, I think it's all very interesting. And again, one of those ones, the scope of it, picking up a shovel or firing up a backhoe.
Or let me just add, if repairing a fence post. So there's wording in the law that if you're moving or displacing a permanent structure, that's considered excavation. So we get some reportings of, well, I was just simply taking out the fence post and then cleaning up the existing hole. And sure enough, there was a line in the area in the vicinity. So had they called 811, they would have known something was around there and maybe been a little bit more careful. And so I'll take just this extra opportunity. I hope I have time. If you know any plumbers, any electricians, any fence builders, landscapers, your concrete and demolition workers, a lot of times they don't realize that some of the work they're doing is considered excavation, requiring that locate ticket.
And, it's cheaper to call 811 than to go through everything and have all those damages that really build up.
For sure.
And again, it's a phone call and it's 48 hours. So at the end of the day, not that big of a
deal.
Well, Ricardo, thank you so much for joining us. Is it Happy 811 Day? I don't know.
I like that.
Sure. So happy 811 Day to all who observe. And again, thank you for coming in today. This was really informative. I always love talking about these types of topics that kind of expand out beyond industry and honestly affect all Texans. So thank you for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, of course, if you want to find more information, texas811.org. That's the website. Know what's below. Call before you dig. But of course, we have all the information on our website as well with the Railroad Commission of Texas, rrc.texas.gov. Just do a little search, for damage prevention. It'll, like I said, the call's free. That saves you a lot of money in damages. They come out and market. You don't have to do anything. You just got to wait 48 hours. That's all you have to do. But you don't have to wait 48 hours to check out all the podcasts we have released so far on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Amazon, Audible Music, Alexa, YouTube. We make it really easy for you to find our podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe because then you get the notifications that we are releasing new episodes. You can be, oh yeah, hey, there's one about 811 Day. Today's August 5th. Oh, hey, that's coming up soon. Maybe I should listen to this, see what they're talking about. So we get those notifications when you subscribe. So be sure you do that and to tell your friends, family, and enemies as well to subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all sorts of great information out there. So if you're looking for even more of the latest information from us, I know Nick always does this plug, but we are on social media as well. Everywhere. I mean, we are on X, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Most places we are at Railroad Commission of Texas, or if you just search up Railroad Commission of Texas on those platforms, you're going to find us in all those places, as well as YouTube, all sorts of different content across all of those different platforms. So wherever you can find us online, we have information for you.
Just Google. We make it easy for you. Google. That's easy. If you want to see Railroad Commission on LinkedIn, boom, there you go.
I forgot about LinkedIn. Absolutely. We've got great things there as well. So as always, thank you so much for joining us. This is Texas Energy on Track, the official podcast of the Railroad Commission of Texas, and we will talk to you all soon.